Galand unleashes his full power. His weapon flies at Escanor. It hits him in the arm. It slices mountains in the distance because of the impact, and it barely cut through Escanor's bicep. The man saw this and ran away so hard, he turned to stone. We all like a good ass whooping, all right? When you watch a nice anime fight where there's some just genuine ass whoopage going on, ladies and gentlemen, that is what we are here for. A lot of you are like, no, we're not. We're here to get goo all over our keyboards. And to that I say, wait for my next upload. Anyway, point that I'm trying to say is we like good fights in anime, and here's the thing. Most anime fights follow a certain rule set, you know? The characters will be, let's say, relatively evenly matched. One person will be winning at one point, and then the next person will start winning. Maybe there'll be a twist, maybe it'll be difficult, there'll be growth, there'll be character interactions, stuff like that. Those are the basic rules for an anime fight, but let me tell you about another one of my favorite type of anime fights. I'm talking about the out-of-pocket anime fights. The anime fights that don't follow the rules. Do you want to know what out-of-pocket means and how I'll be using this term to define a certain genre of anime fights that I personally love oh so much? It's when someone says, hey yo, I saw your girl kissing another dude. Hey yo, that bitch out of pocket. She does not play by the normal rules. Now that's cringe. That's some sneako shit. We don't talk about that here. Today, I want to talk about a bunch of anime fights that break the actual rules of what an anime fight should look. I want to talk about the 7 biggest out-of-pocket anime fights. And because there's going to be some crazy demonic energy in this video, if you act out of pocket and drop a comment and smash the like button, well, if we get 6.6k likes, I will make another one of this video. Yep, the series will continue. Now, I know I already made a call to action that you should leave a like and comment and stuff, but I hope you're ready for the second call to action, where I ask you to subscribe. And yes, that is leading me as a perfect segue right into the first out-of-pocket anime fight. I'm talking about Madara Uchiha versus the Shinobi Alliance and the 5 Kage. Now, again, a lot of fights, even against some crazy overpowered villain, you know, maybe you'll have your 3 main characters up against him, and the main villain will be so powerful, and, you know, they'll see that they're close enough, but they're too weak, and they'll need to go through a training arc maybe to beat him, and maybe then they'll be able to actually do something useful and you know, defeat the villain, right? Maybe. Madara breaks that trope. In the most out-of-pocket fashion in the history of villain introductions, this man doesn't charge up against, you know, a couple of main dudes. No. He goes up against an army of 5,000 ninja and beats them in hand-to-hand combat. Now, you're probably thinking, bro, that's not how we deal with fodder, ninja, right? Whenever there's like a force of fodder people, you're always gonna need some sort of gimmick to wipe out the fodder guys. I don't know, Conqueror's Hockey from One Piece, where they can just, and they can knock out all the fodders, all right? Or a bomb, or a freaking laser, or some mass hypnosis. I don't know, something to get rid of all the fodder, ninja. We don't actually want to see the main villain fight the fodder, right? Wrong. This dude breaks every rule that you thought you understood about an anime fight, and he fights them in hand-to-hand combat, grabbing paper bombs from one of them and slapping onto other ones, dropping freaking kunais and slicing people to bits with their own swords. This man, hand-to-hand combat, takes out an army of 5,000 ninja. After that's all cleaned up and he can, you know, wipe his hands of that entire deal, he can just be like, all right, I'm gonna fight the 5 Kage, right? The 5 strongest good guys in the entire generation. And it'll be like, all right, well, these guys, they'll at least pose a threat to him. I understand they're not gonna beat him. This was just his introduction, but they'll pose a threat to him. They don't! He drops a meteor on them. He's like, all right, I'm gonna fight the 5 Kages. Okay, meteor time. He drops a meteor, and all of them use their collective power to finally manage to stop it with Gara sand and with freaking Onoki using his gravity magic shiz to make it lighter. And they managed to stop the meteor, an incredible feat, something we didn't think anyone would be able to do. And Madara's like, oh, cool. You thought I could only drop 1 meteor? What are you gonna do about the second one? And he drops a second meteor. This is the most overwhelming annihilation I think anyone's ever seen, and people who didn't get absolute chills by the introduction of this genuine menace to society, well, they were probably high while they were watching Naruto. Or they nutted so hard when he took out the 5,000 ninja, he couldn't get it up again for the fight against the 5 Kage. My man broke so many rules in that fight. Like, he goes ahead and he makes all these wood clones, okay? And then he asks the Kage in the most disrespectful way possible, hey, I know that each one of these wood clones right now is as strong as each of you, but do you want them to use Susanoo too? Susanoo is like this crazy, ultra ethereal avatar monster that all of these crazy goddamn Uchihas are able to pull out of their ass cheeks. It's so strong, it's so scary, it's so overwhelmingly powerful, and this dude, not only can he make one himself, but all of his clones can make one too. I rest my case when I say that Madara versus the Kage is one of the most out-of-pocket anime fights of all time. Next, out-of-pocket anime fight of all time! The final battle in Eminence in Shadow. Now, Eminence in Shadow had a lot of out-of-pocket anime fights. As far as out-of-pockets fights go, I think that my boy Shadow here, Sid Kagano, he pretty much mastered every variety of it. He manages to disrupt any trait and signature struggle every main character has in every story. Even a character like Saitama, who will not be showing up on this video, but in the next iteration of best out-of-pocket anime fights, if this video gets 6.6k likes, I will be talking about Saitama. Saitama at least has like his inner struggle, right? He's like, oh man, maybe one day I'll find someone that'll be a struggle. Oh man, I'm suffering, I don't have friends. Nothing, none of that for Shadow. This dude has zero hangups, not mentally, not physically, and not magically. This dude is just ridiculously broken. And I would like to bring up and talk about the fight he had against Princess Iris, the strongest swordswoman in the entire country, and the war goddess Beatrix, pretty much the strongest swordsman, legendary in the entire world. Right, these are two incredibly powerful beings, all right? Now, I'm not saying that Shadow beating them is the out-of-pocket anime fight. That's not out-of-pocket. The isekai protagonist being overpowered, it's a tale as old as time. The level of disrespect, though, the level of disgusting demonic energy, the level of immaculate vibes, those are something you only see in this fight, Eminence in Shadow style. The way he just nonchalantly walks towards them and teleports behind them because he can move faster than them. The way that before the fight even starts, Iris just looks at him and she pictures her head being severed from her body because he would have been able to do that in that time frame. She can't even stand up to face him. Every time she looks up to look at him, she feels like she died a different way. She feels the pain in her ankle like her leg was just sliced off because she gave him an opening. And she's wondering, how am I giving him openings? I'm so far away from him. And she realizes no matter what she does or where she is, it's always an opening for him. That's how broken he is. So she pulls out this crazy magic spirit artifact weapon of fire and doom and destruction, and you know, it gets this whole hoopla exciting backstory to this goddamn artifact which can toast dragons and cities and stuff. Who cares? And it does nothing to him. So the reason why I really wanted to mention this specifically in this video is because my boy Sid fights them in just a disgusting way. He breaks off pieces of metal off a balcony and he's like, oh, these are like crowbars. I like crowbars. I'll fight you with crowbars. My man is holding 2 pieces of bent metal and he's fighting the 2 strongest swordswomen in the entire country. One of them is wielding a legendary artifact. He's like, oh man, I do like crowbars. And he's stronger than them with crowbars. And you're like, all right, dude, listen, I get it. It's disrespectful, it's disgusting, but like, please, it doesn't get worse than that. But it does! The way he walks up to them and beats them in hand-to-hand combat, aside from his overwhelming magic presence, is just disturbing. First of all, neither of them have any openings at all. They know they have no shot. One of them tells the other one, yo, Beatrix, maybe you can sacrifice yourself to give me an opening and then I'll sacrifice myself to maybe land a blow. Bro, this is the level of despair that they were in, that they were even coming up with plans like this. And the way they would charge at him and he would just politely pick them up and throw them on each other and then step on them. You heard correctly. This is a fight that it's not like he just wasn't fearing for his life. He was toying with them on a level of disrespect that just shouldn't exist. Just the image in my mind of him picking up Beatrix, throwing Beatrix onto Iris, and then Upi stepping on both of them at the same time because one of them is on top of the other, and then he's just like, It gets to the point where they're like, bro, this is rough, this is terrible, why don't you run away or something, because we're not gonna beat you. And he's like, oh, run away, run away. And then he flexes on them by saying, yes, I can use this magic spell. I am atomic, with the craziest ASMR sounding voice reverb sound of all time. And he almost blew up the entire country. Yes, he has a spell at his disposal, and he showed them that it had the capabilities to blow up a country. He just decided, yeah, I'm not gonna do that right now. I'm just gonna leave because, well, I completely obliterated you. You will now never forget me for as long as you live. In fact, you'll probably have nightmares of me every night of the remainder of your lifetimes, and they wouldn't be long lifetimes if I wanted them to end. It is just a level of disrespect and a fight so out of pocket that it definitely had to make it to this video. Moving on to the next out of pocket anime fight. Can I just talk for a second about the greatest waifu in the history of anime? Well, you're probably thinking, who is he talking about? Is he talking about some flavor of the month? Marin from Dress Up Darling, or I don't know, 02 from Darling in the Franxx, or Makima, because we all know Nux likes to get stepped on, which I wouldn't, and I would really appreciate if someone stopped spreading that false propaganda. God damn it! They see me watch one episode of Enma, and all of a sudden, they call me a masochist. I literally can't escape from this. My entire life has this blemish on it now. I can't run away. But anyway, I digress. The true greatest waifu of all time, Cynthia from Pokemon, the Undying, the Unbreakable, the Unbroken, a character that has harassed you and thrashed you in your childhood trying to beat the Platinum Elite Four, stands up as the queen, possessing some of the greatest hentai of all time. Yeah, where am I going with this? Oh yeah! She fought Paul in the Pokemon Diamond and Pearl anime, and I feel like it was definitely worthy of a mention here. Now, as we've already talked about, there is a level of thrashing required. There is a thrashing baseline that you need to be past in order to be considered in one of the most out-of-pocket anime fights. This was definitely a successful iteration of that. When Cynthia went up against Paul, Paul knew he had no chance to beat Cynthia. But we all thought Paul was actually going into it trying to win. Paul wasn't. Paul was hoping to get one Pokemon down. That's literally everything he was hoping for. It was a 6-on-6 battle where every single one, Paul would send out a Pokemon, the Pokemon would go up against Garchomp, and Garchomp would one-shot every single one of them. Every single one of them! But Paul, dude's unwavering. He has a strategy here. Everyone's watching. He's like, bro, what is Paul's strategy? The man is getting absolutely thrashed in like the most despicable fashion ever. Eventually, Garchomp uses Giga Impact, a move that also, of course, one-shots Paul's Pokemon. However, after using Hyper Beam or Giga Impact, your Pokemon is forced to wait a turn and recharge in the game. And, well, in the anime, I guess he needs to take a breather. Cynthia purposely uses this move to flex on Paul. She could have beaten Paul's Pokemon with any of Garchomp's moves. However, she specifically used Giga Impact to give Paul the opening to launch a counterattack. Paul sends out Torterra, launches a counterattack of Giga Drain, like, yo, now's my opportunity. Garchomp can't move. Garchomp's ground type, I'm grass type. Things are looking good right now. This is my opportunity. I'm gonna put him in place. I'm gonna do some damage. Cynthia literally let him do all of that, so that he could have some sort of semblance of hope. So he could have a free turn and a free attack. But Garchomp one-shots Torterra anyway. Cynthia humored Paul by battling him, and humiliated Paul by how badly he was beaten. Now, there is a very powerful mentality that I like to have. You set your expectations low, and you won't be disappointed. Now, this is a really great way to cruise through life. If you're opening a pack of Yu-Gi-Oh cards and you're not expecting any holos or anything, and you pull nothing, well, that's just like you expected. You're not going to be disappointed. If I upload a video and hope that I'm not shadow banned and YouTube will promote it, but, you know, I expect the video to do poorly, well, then I won't be as disappointed if it does poorly, because I am shadow banned. Look at my The End video on my main channel. It's the saddest thing in the world. Definitely subscribe. You're helping a lot. Also go to my Patreon. You're helping even more. Anyway, Paul had the same mindset. He went in there with the low expectations of, I am gonna get my ass whooped, and still, his low expectations were not low enough for how badly Cynthia obliterated his tight little booty. He's a 10-year-old child. I should not use terms like that. Twitter, don't cancel me. Anyway, next out-of-pocket anime fight. In Konosuba, they were up against a fellow by the name of Dullahan. Dullahan, as most Dullahans are, they have no head. And I'm not talking about the hentai Dullahan. I feel like, again, why did I do that? Why is my mind keep going to hentai? Am I really a degenerate? Am I the degenerate that I thought I only was? like as a meme. Although I'm just saying, Dullahan hentai is really top tier. It just always is. I don't know how they consistently make Dullahan hentai so fire, but in Konosuba, they're going up against this Dullahan guy. And, you know, normally, when you have your bunch of adventures, you have your Demon King army or whatever, you clash, the adventurers win, maybe, or not, and then they fight back and forth a little bit. The main character is working hard, and it's all stressful. He manages to overcome the enemy. All right, basic stuff. No. You ready for some out-of-pocket challenge runs? And I'm not talking about the overpowered type of out-of-pocket. You see, on my next iteration of out-of-pocket anime fights, I might be talking about the overly cautious hero, which is a hilarious out-of-pocket fight as well. But in Konosuba, they break the rules in an entirely different way. They don't just defeat the Dullahan, they humiliate the Dullahan. They steal his head and they play soccer with it. And yes, he obviously gets extraordinarily, nauseous because his head is being thrown around. They're playing catch with his head. He's like this esteemed demon general that the world is scared of, and they're playing catch with his head. They're throwing his head around, and he's like, oh man, this is rough, buddy. And his head is spinning, and he's puking, and his body's just kind of rolling on the ground, doesn't know what to do. Dude, it is absolutely hilarious, and it is one of the most out-of-pocket ways any demon general has ever been defeated in the history of anime. So it was a bit of a short entry, but I felt like it was definitely warranting a mention. Next, out-of-pocket anime fight. Now, I know y'all are waiting for Escanor versus Galand, which is how I'm gonna wrap up this video. Obviously, Escanor needs to be in the flagship of this series, without even a doubt. However, I feel like another one worth mentioning is Shizuo Heiwajima versus Izaya Orihara from Durarara. I feel like this is an anime that fell off a lot in the eyes of the fandom over the last few years. I haven't seen anyone talking about it since like 2015, which is kind of sad because it's really great. Two of the best characters, in fact, the two best characters, Shizuo and Izaya, are both evil, conniving assholes in different ways. You see, Izaya is this incredibly nimble, manipulative psychopath that's out there twisting people's mind, watching humans on the ground, watching them struggle. He's just intrigued by humanity and likes toying with them, selling information from one to the other that can instigate violence. Obviously, he's my favorite character because I love the manipulative assholes. And then you have Shizuo, who's an asshole in a different way. He's an asshole because his actions speak louder than his words. He's an asshole because in this world where everyone's like a normal human, aside from the occasional demonic stuff going on around, Dullahans have great hentai, as I was saying. Everyone's relatively equivalently strong. I mean, they're just humans. They're like guys in gangs. And then there's Shizuo. Shizuo has a fighting chance against Goku, okay? This dude is broken strong. No matter what they do to him, he is not hurt. Knives crack on him. He punches a dude so hard, all the guy's clothes fly off in the air as he's twirling away. He has the most disrespectful finishes ever, and the man has to work as a bartender because anything else he works as, he just breaks everything he touches because he's just unfathomably, irredeemably, disgustingly strong. He's like Superman if Superman had a temper and also was a really well-written character, which he ain't. Sorry, Superman fans. But anyway, these guys hate each other because Shizuo is an incredibly straightforward person, all right? He does what he says what he does his stuff, he goes forward, he fights, he punches, he'll do whatever the hell he wants as long as it's the right thing to do. He has his moral compass, whatever. Izaya does not fit that moral compass because he is a conniving, twisted little asshole. That said, they hate each other, and you have more Izaya moments than Naruto yelling Sasuke, which is a lot. Anyway, they fight a lot. Every time they bump into each other, havoc wreaks upon the city. And not just purely because they're both really strong. No, because the fight basically consists of Izaya taunting and dodging Shizuo's attacks. Every one of Shizuo's attacks is causing irreparable damage to the city. Man pulls out light posts and freaking swipes at him, which he dodges, and he'll just slice clean through a house. The guy is next level overpowered, and Izaya is next level asshole enough that by the fact that these two are finally butting heads, the entire city is collapsing around them. It is an absolute battle of chaos, and it is an out-of-pocket anime fight, in my opinion, because unlike every other anime fight, it doesn't end. Also, Izaya doesn't have a prayer of winning. Also, Izaya is only entering the fight to annoy Shizuo. Like, every part of this fight is a different out-of-pocket reasoning as to why it needed to end up in this video. This is a fight with no conclusion where no one's even hoping for a conclusion. This is a fight where neither party is actually at risk of taking damage because we know it's an eternal fight that's gonna keep going every single arc in every single episode of Durarara. These guys will eternally hate each other. We know Izaya can dodge anything that's thrown at him, and we know Shizuo is the freaking Hulk. It's just such an eternal anime fight, and so cataclysmic for everyone watching except for the people partaking in the fight. I feel like it absolutely warranted a mention in this video as one of the most out-of-pocket anime fights of all time. And to wrap things up with the 6th, and I know I said in the beginning 7th because but I wasn't lying, the 7th out-of-pocket anime fight that I'm talking about in this video is my constant fight against YouTube's shadow ban against me, which you should definitely subscribe to help me on this battle. But anyway, wasn't that hilarious? Escanor is introduced as a terrifying force. And by that I mean he's introduced as a bartender. He's this little wimpy dude working in a bar, cleaning glasses. He's this teeny little shrimp, not menacing in any possible way. That said, it's interesting. We spent the entire first season not meeting Escanor. We only met 6 of the 7 deadly sins, not the lion's sin of pride. And we finally meet him, and he's just this nobody working in a bar. Anyway, 2 demons come looking for Ban, who is hiding in the back of the bar. And they start drinking, they make friends with Escanor, all is fine. Galand, he's drunk, and he challenges him to a game. He says, how about this? I strike you, and then you strike me, Pokemon battle style. Right? Easy. And whoever dies first loses. Oh, and I am the commandment of truth. So if you break this deal by like running away per se, well, you were going to turn to stone for eternity. You know, pretty basic, simple stuff. Escanor's like, because, you know, he's a little blathering simp. He's not someone threatening or menacing. Galand taps him on the back, and that basically counts as his first attack. Escanor gets buried in rubble in the ground. He is weak, and he doesn't move for hours until the sun rises. You see, when the sun rises, the lion's sin of pride, Escanor, the wielder of the power of sunshine, stands up tall. He does not longer look like the same little dude that was there in a pile of rubble. Escanor stands really tall, and he's like, oh, are you playing with my axe? Galand is there. He can't even lift Escanor's axe. He was waiting for Escanor to get up, and he's there with the axe. He can't even pick it up. It's so heavy. Escanor picks it up so quickly, and with the flick of his wrist, slices Galand in two. Galand manages to regenerate. He's like, oh, damn, what the hell was that all about? That's wild! But that was your turn, and now it's my turn. I will unleash all of my power, getting to a power level of 40,000. Now, I'm gonna backtrack a little bit, just to let you know how out of pocket this fight actually is. In the beginning of 7 Deadly Sins Season 2, we were introduced to power scaling, a power scaling, power leveling system that 7 Deadly Sins introduced. To be like, oh, look at all these Holy Knights, they have a power level of like 2,000. Look at all these 7 Deadly Sins guys, they have a power level of 10,000. And the Commandments, these guys are really strong. They have a power level of like 30,000. And you're like, oh, 30,000, that's like 3 times stronger than the Sins. They're so strong, oh my god. This is just introduced now, okay? They introduce Escanor, and they stop including the power scaling system. This is the over 9,000 moment where you break the scouter. This is the Vegeta breaking the scouter moment of 7 Deadly Sins. Galand powers up to 40,000, all right? Incredibly high stuff. He slices so hard at Escanor, a slash so powerful it slices the tips off of nearby mountains, Bleach style. This is like some Ichigo versus Aizen level shit. The blade hits Escanor's arm, barely nicks him. A trickle of blood flows out of his bicep, and Escanor just chuckles. Escanor's just like, oh, was that it? Were you trying to tickle me? This is incredibly disrespectful and incredibly out of pocket. The fact that they introduced this entire power leveling system just to show you how powerful the commandments were so that they could get absolutely fly swatted by Escanor when Escanor is introduced, and then we never talk about the power levels ever again in 7 Deadly Sins. This dude pops out with a power level of you ready? You ready? Remember the frame, the reference that I gave you so far? Holy Knights 2K, 7 Deadly Sins 10K, Commandments like 30, 40K. Escanor is a power level just at his introduction of 150,000. They introduced this guy. They're like, all right, the power leveling system is never going to be needed again. We just kind of wanted to give you a frame of reference for how disgustingly strong he is. Escanor is so powerful, so menacing, and so scary. Galand betrays his own rules and his own commandment and runs away and turns to stone. That is a better fate in his mind than actually going up against Escanor. Meliscula is there, another one of the 7 deadly sins. She can suck your soul out and eat your soul, which is pretty based, I guess. I want a mommy that can suck my soul out, if you know what I'm saying. Editor, cut that out. I don't want that in the final product. That was a Freudian slip. We don't want that there. We don't want that there, editor. Get rid of it, editor. I don't want my audience to think I'm that lame and pathetic. So Meliscula sucks out Escanor's soul. Now, this isn't something that actually has to do with his power level, right? Like, you can't disrespect Escanor for losing a fight like that. I mean, she literally sucked out his soul. Like, what are you gonna do about that? It has nothing to do with your actual level of strength. So, honestly, I feel like that's... I mean, obviously they had to find a way to beat him somehow, right? Otherwise, he would just be incredibly overpowered, and his out-of-pocketness would continue in every fight in the series. And it does! His soul is so burning hot that when it's swallowed by Meliscula, it burns her from the inside, lights her completely aflame. She falls into a chasm where her body is split into multiple pieces on the way down because of how hot the soul was. She could not contain the soul in her body. It burnt her from the inside to a crisp, it turned her into a molten pile of dookie, dropped her off into a chasm, and the soul flies right back into Escanor, and he's totally fine. This dude is a level of disrespect that is high and above anything else you will ever see ever. This dude absolutely warrants being the final entry in the first episode of the most out-of-pocket anime fights. This is not how any legitimate anime villain deserves to be beaten, yet they get trounced that way by my boy, the mustache-squirlin' Escanor. My namesake. My daddy. I am way too hoarding while recording this video. This was a problem. I shouldn't have done this at all. Anyway, leave a like, subscribe. Definitely subscribe. Be out of pocket about it. Even if you normally watch my videos not subscribed, just do it. Don't be a bitch. Bye.